Hey everyone, welcome back to We Are Cosmic, the place where we dive deep into the world of finance, cryptocurrency, and the future of money. If you're new here, you're in the right spot because today we're going to unpack some truly exciting stuff about XRP and Ripple and why I believe this could be one of the most important opportunities in crypto right now. Before we get into the numbers and charts, I want to give you the full picture so you can really understand why this matters and why so much value is flowing into Ripple and the XRP ecosystem. Now let's start with the question. Have you ever wondered why some cryptocurrencies explode while others barely move? Why some projects are talked about for years but never truly transform the financial system? The answer is efficiency, strategy, and adoption. It's not just hype, and that's exactly what we're going to explore today, step by step, in a way that's easy to follow, even if you're just getting serious about crypto. First, let's talk about the financial system we have today. The truth is, the rails that move money, the infrastructure for payments and settlements, were mostly built decades ago, some parts even in the 1960s. These systems worked, sure, but they are slow, expensive, and outdated. Even big players in finance are starting to realize that the old ways simply cannot handle the scale and speed of the modern digital economy. This is where cryptocurrencies like XRP come in. XRP is not just another digital coin. Its value comes from how it connects with the traditional financial system while offering a faster, cheaper, and more efficient way to transfer money. We're talking transactions that settle instantly, costs that are only a fraction of what banks charge today, and the ability to move capital across borders in ways that weren't possible even 5 years ago. This is a step function change, a big leap in efficiency, not just a small improvement. Think about this. If a bank can save just a few basis points on millions or billions of dollars in transactions, that adds up to billions of dollars saved every year. That is why financial institutions are paying attention. Even without considering all the new and exciting products crypto can enable, just the efficiency alone makes XRP and Ripple extremely attractive. The math is simple. Capital will always flow to where it can be used most efficiently, and Ripple has strategically positioned itself right at the center of this transformation. And here's where it gets really interesting. Ripple isn't just building a coin or a network, they are building the bridges. Through acquisitions and product creation, Ripple has integrated into core areas of finance: custody with Medico, payments with RippleNet, prime brokerage with Ripple Prime, and treasury management. These are not just experiments. They are real functioning parts of the financial system. They are the tentacles that connect the old system to the new. What does this mean for XRP? Simply put, the more these systems adopt Ripple's infrastructure, the more XRP becomes the natural choice for settlement. It's not a gamble, it's strategic positioning. While other cryptocurrencies are chasing adoption or hoping for network effects, Ripple has already created the pathways that financial institutions will use to migrate to the new digital financial system. So, if you've been watching the crypto space and wondering which projects actually have a real long-term plan to capture value, you need to pay attention here. XRP is not just participating in the digital revolution, it is designed to lead it by making the traditional financial system more efficient and creating a clear path for capital to flow onto the XRP ledger. All right, welcome back to We Are Cosmic. Now that we've set the stage for why XRP is positioned to capture value in the crypto world, let's break down the core strategy Ripple is using. This is where things get really interesting, because Ripple isn't just creating a cryptocurrency, they're building a system that the traditional financial world will naturally adopt. When we talk about Ripple, we often hear about XRP in the ledger, but there's a bigger picture. Ripple has been systematically integrating with the financial system in ways that are subtle but extremely powerful. Think of it like roots spreading underground. You don't see them at first, but they're setting the foundation for massive growth. These tentacles are their products and acquisitions that touch almost every corner of finance. Let's start with custody. Through Medico, Ripple has created a secure way for banks and institutions to store digital assets safely. Custody is a huge deal in finance. Financial institutions cannot adopt a new system if they don't trust it to protect their assets. By controlling custody solutions, Ripple ensures that institutions have a secure path to move digital assets, including XRP. Next, we have payments and RippleNet. RippleNet connects banks and payment providers globally, allowing money to move faster and cheaper than traditional methods. Imagine sending a payment across the world in seconds instead of days, and for a fraction of the cost. RippleNet doesn't always require XRP yet, but it lays the foundation for XRP to be used as the settlement currency once these institutions are comfortable with the system. Then there's Prime Brokerage and Ripple Prime. Ripple is building the tools that financial institutions use to trade, manage, and settle financial products. These are areas where trillions of dollars move every day. Even small efficiency gains can save billions across the system. By entering Prime Brokerage, Ripple ensures they are already in the workflow of major players, even before XRP becomes central. Treasury management is another piece of the puzzle. Ripple's solutions for treasury and government securities management give institutions next-generation tools for managing large-scale capital efficiently. Again, this doesn't always involve XRP immediately, but it cements Ripple's role as a trusted partner in core financial operations. The genius of this strategy is that Ripple isn't asking banks to adopt a brand new system overnight. Instead, they are integrating into the systems banks already use. Every step builds trust, reduces friction, and creates a natural migration path to digital assets and eventually XRP. This is what we mean when we talk about Ripple's tentacles. They're deeply embedded in the old system while preparing it for the new. Why is this so important? Because the vast majority of global capital is still on traditional rails. Banks, investment firms, and governments are managing trillions of dollars using outdated systems. The shift to digital finance is inevitable, but the question is who will capture that value? Ripple has positioned itself so that when the transition happens, XRP is the natural settlement choice. And here's a key point. Most people only look at crypto adoption by user numbers or public interest. They see Ethereum, Bitcoin, or Solana being used and think that's where the value lies. But the reality is that 99% of financial value is still in the legacy system, waiting to move. Ripple's strategy ensures that when this massive migration occurs, XRP is at the center of it. This is why XRP isn't just another cryptocurrency. It's the backbone of Ripple's financial infrastructure vision. The tentacles we just discussed are like bridges. They connect the old system to the new, and they guide capital naturally toward XRP. Without these tentacles, XRP would just be another token competing for attention. With them, it becomes the logical endpoint for trillions of dollars in global capital. Now that we've talked about Ripple's strategic tentacles in the financial system, it's time to focus on what makes XRP itself so powerful. Ripple has created pathways, integrations, and bridges, but the true engine at the heart of it all is XRP. This is where speed, cost, and efficiency come into play, and why institutions are likely to adopt it over other cryptocurrencies. Let's start with transaction speed. Traditional bank transfers, especially international payments, can take days or even a week to settle. This delays everything and ties up massive amounts of capital in the process. XRP, on the other hand, settles transactions in 3 to 5 seconds. That's a step change in efficiency. Imagine a global bank processing billions of dollars every day. Moving that same capital instantly, instead of waiting days, means massive savings and liquidity advantages. Next is transaction cost. Legacy financial systems charge fees that scale with the size and complexity of transactions. Even a small fraction of a percent can add up to millions or billions when scaled across trillions of dollars. XRP's network fees are tiny, often less than a cent per transaction. This cost efficiency makes it extremely attractive for banks, payment processors, and large institutions. When efficiency equals cost savings, capital naturally flows to the more efficient system. Another key point is scalability. Some cryptocurrencies face congestion when networks get busy, causing delays and higher fees. XRP's network, built specifically for high-volume financial transactions, can handle thousands of transactions per second consistently. This scalability ensures that as adoption grows, the network remains reliable, which is critical for institutions managing real-world money. Now, why does this matter for institutional adoption? Institutions aren't looking for hype or speculation. They are looking for trustworthy, scalable solutions that reduce cost, risk, and friction. XRP checks all those boxes. Banks don't care about memes or short-term price swings. They care about efficiency. XRP offers measurable improvements over existing systems. That's why it is naturally positioned to be the preferred settlement asset in the digital financial system. Let's talk about capital efficiency. This concept is huge but often overlooked. When a financial product saves even a few basis points on large transactions, those small gains scale into billions of dollars over time. XRP allows institutions to settle value instantly and at almost zero cost, meaning they can free up capital to invest, lend, or use elsewhere. This is exactly why Ripple's products are so attractive. They integrate XRP in ways that maximize efficiency and capital utilization. Efficiency also drives trust and adoption. The faster and cheaper a network is, the more institutions are willing to experiment and integrate it into their operations. Ripple has cleverly structured its ecosystem so that even if XRP isn't used immediately for every transaction, it is always available as the natural bridge for settlement. Once institutions see the benefits in speed and cost, they naturally adopt it. Finally, consider the bigger picture. Trillions of dollars still sit in legacy systems. These systems are slow, expensive, and fragmented. As Ripple continues to expand its tentacles through custody, payments, prime brokerage, and treasury solutions, the path to XRP becomes inevitable. The combination of strategic positioning and unmatched efficiency makes XRP uniquely positioned to capture this value. In short, XRP isn't just another cryptocurrency. It's a solution designed for real-world finance. Its speed, low cost, and scalability make it the ideal candidate for mass adoption by institutions that handle huge volumes of money every day. While other cryptocurrencies compete on popularity or smart contracts, XRP competes on efficiency, which is what matters most to the biggest players in finance. We've covered Ripple's strategic infrastructure and XRP's unmatched efficiency. Now, let's talk about the real magic, how Ripple creates a cycle of adoption that positions XRP as the inevitable settlement currency. This is where strategy, trust, and timing all come together. Ripple's approach is simple but brilliant. Instead of asking banks and institutions to adopt XRP directly from day one, Ripple first embeds itself into their existing operations. Through products like RippleNet, Medico Custody Solutions, Ripple Prime, and Treasury Management tools, Ripple integrates into the systems financial institutions already trust. This builds trust and familiarity without forcing anyone to change their operations overnight. Think of it like a bridge. The old financial system is one side, the digital crypto world is the other, and Ripple's infrastructure is the bridge. Financial institutions start using the bridge for payments, custody, and prime brokerage, not necessarily using XRP at first, but getting comfortable with Ripple's ecosystem. Once they see the speed, efficiency, and low cost of these services, the natural next step is to use XRP as the settlement layer. It's not forced adoption, it's a logical and gradual migration. This is what we call Ripple's adoption cycle. Step by step, they are converting legacy financial operations to digital, modern systems. Each product, acquisition, and integration acts as a tentacle reaching into a part of the financial system, pulling institutions closer to XRP. It's methodical, precise, and designed to capture real-world value over the long term. One of the most important aspects of this cycle is capital efficiency. Financial institutions care about saving money, reducing risk, and improving liquidity. XRP allows transactions to settle instantly at extremely low costs. Even small efficiency gains across billions of dollars in transactions can translate to billions of dollars in savings. This makes XRP the most rational choice when institutions are ready to migrate. Ripple doesn't need to convince anyone with hype. They let the results speak for themselves. Another key factor is timing. Most of the trillions of dollars in the world are still in traditional financial systems. Ripple's tentacles ensure that when these institutions are ready to adopt digital finance, the path of least resistance is toward XRP. By the time mass adoption begins, Ripple will have positioned XRP as the natural, trusted, and most efficient solution. This strategy also reduces risk for institutions. Unlike other cryptocurrencies that rely purely on speculation, XRP is embedded in real infrastructure. Banks can adopt Ripple's products gradually and scale adoption over time. They don't have to bet everything on XRP at once. They integrate where it makes sense, and Ripple's ecosystem ensures that XRP becomes increasingly relevant as adoption grows. The adoption cycle is further strengthened by Ripple's strategic acquisitions. By owning custody solutions, payment rails, and prime brokerage tools, Ripple ensures that it touches every critical part of the financial value chain. Each tentacle strengthens the network effect, making XRP the logical endpoint for all capital moving from old systems to the new digital framework. Finally, consider the long-term picture. Ripple is not competing for short-term attention or social media hype. Its focus is on systematic integration and building trust with major financial players. This methodical approach means that when the financial system inevitably modernizes, XRP is already in place to capture the majority of that value. It's a strategy designed for inevitable adoption, not speculative popularity. Now that we understand Ripple's adoption cycle, the next step is looking at the bigger picture. Why is XRP positioned to capture massive value in the coming years? The answer lies in a combination of legacy financial system inefficiencies, macro trends, and Ripple's strategic positioning. First, let's talk about the old financial system. Banks and payment networks have dominated global finance for decades, but most of the infrastructure is outdated, slow, and expensive. International wire transfers can take days, settlement costs are high, and liquidity is often tied up unnecessarily. These inefficiencies cost financial institutions billions every year and create a strong incentive to adopt better solutions. Now, look at crypto technology. Digital assets and blockchain networks like XRP offer instant settlement, near zero fees, and transparency. This isn't theory, it's happening today. Stablecoins are already processing volumes that rival or exceed traditional networks like Visa or ACH in just a few years of existence. That's exponential growth in action. The systems that have dominated payments for decades are being disrupted faster than anyone expected. Here's where Ripple comes in. Ripple isn't just a crypto token, it's the infrastructure solution bridging the old and the new. By integrating into key areas like custody, payments, prime brokerage, and treasury management, Ripple creates a pathway for trillions of dollars to migrate to digital finance, and XRP is at the center of that path. The old system can't move as efficiently, so capital naturally flows to the new system that offers speed, efficiency, and scalability. Let's talk numbers and capital efficiency for a moment. Even a small improvement in transaction costs or settlement speed when applied to trillions of dollars in the global financial system translates to billions in savings. Financial institutions will naturally adopt XRP because it is the most efficient settlement option. This isn't hype, it's simple economics. Money flows where it can work hardest, and XRP is engineered for exactly that. Another macro factor is timing. Cryptocurrency adoption is accelerating globally. More banks, fintechs, and institutions are entering the digital asset space every month. Governments are slowly clarifying regulations, and infrastructure is maturing. XRP's tentacles are already in place, meaning it's ready to capture value as the wave of institutional adoption hits. While other projects scramble to gain attention, Ripple has systematically positioned XRP to be the default choice. And here's a critical insight. Most people underestimate the size of the legacy capital pool. The majority of the world's money is still on analog rails, controlled by traditional financial institutions. Ripple's strategy ensures that when this capital moves, the path naturally leads to XRP. This is the kind of strategic positioning that separates tokens with hype from tokens with long-term real-world utility and adoption. Finally, consider the long-term picture. The combination of inefficient legacy systems, accelerating crypto adoption, and Ripple's systematic infrastructure creates what I call a perfect storm for XRP. This isn't speculation, it's a logical outcome. Banks want efficiency, capital seeks better returns, and Ripple has built the bridges, tools, and trust to connect the old system to the new. XRP is positioned as the beating heart of the digital financial ecosystem. Now that we've gone through Ripple's strategic infrastructure, XRP's efficiency, the adoption cycle, and the macro trends shaping the market, it's time to tie it all together. Let's make it simple. Why XRP is uniquely positioned to be one of the biggest winners in crypto over the next decade. First, let's revisit the foundation. Ripple isn't just creating a cryptocurrency, it's building an ecosystem embedded into the traditional financial system. Through custody, payments, prime brokerage, and treasury management, Ripple has its tentacles in almost every critical part of finance. These integrations aren't random, they are carefully designed to guide capital from legacy systems into XRP. This is not speculation. It's a strategic step-by-step plan. XRP itself is the engine that powers this system. Its speed, near zero transaction costs, and scalability make it the ideal settlement layer. Financial institutions care about efficiency above all else. When billions of dollars in transactions can settle in seconds at a fraction of the cost of traditional rails, the choice becomes obvious. XRP becomes the logical, rational, and inevitable settlement asset for the new digital financial system. Next, the adoption cycle makes this even more powerful. Ripple's products allow banks and institutions to integrate incrementally. They start with custody or payment solutions, get comfortable with the network, and gradually migrate transactions to XRP. By embedding Ripple into the daily operations of institutions, the company ensures that XRP adoption happens naturally without forcing anyone to make risky bets. This is why I call it a self-reinforcing cycle. The more institutions use Ripple's products, the more natural it becomes to adopt XRP, which in turn drives further adoption and trust. Now consider the macro picture. The financial system we rely on today is outdated and inefficient. Trillions of dollars are tied up in analog systems that simply cannot scale for the digital economy. Cryptocurrency technology, and XRP specifically, offers a clear alternative: instant, low-cost, scalable transactions. As adoption accelerates globally, the capital flowing from old systems will naturally find its way to XRP because it is the most efficient and reliable solution available. Ripple has positioned itself perfectly to capture this migration of value. The combination of all these factors, strategic infrastructure, XRP's efficiency, the adoption cycle, and macro trends, creates a near-unique opportunity. Ripple is not chasing popularity or hype. It's systematically embedding itself into finance, building trust, and creating bridges to the new system, with XRP as the beating heart. This is why I believe XRP is not just another cryptocurrency, but a long-term, high-conviction investment in the digital financial revolution. Finally, for anyone thinking about the future, it's not about short-term price swings or social media attention. It's about understanding the flow of capital, the inefficiencies in the old system, and the paths Ripple has built. When you connect the dots, the story is clear. XRP is strategically positioned to capture a significant share of the value moving from legacy financial rails to the new digital system, and that's what makes it so compelling for investors and institutions alike. So, to wrap it up, Ripple has created the infrastructure, XRP provides the efficiency, the adoption cycle ensures natural integration, and macro trends create inevitable migration of capital. The result, XRP is uniquely positioned to win in the long-term crypto landscape. Thank you for watching and for being part of We Are Cosmic. If you want to understand the real future of finance and stay ahead in the crypto space, stick around. There's so much more to explore. Remember, this isn't just about speculation. This is about strategy, efficiency, and positioning in the next generation of global finance. XRP is at the center, and it's a story that anyone serious about crypto needs to understand.